Hello and welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr podcast. We are on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. And if you're listening to us right now on iTunes, please go and leave a 5-star review. It can say anything so long as it's 5 stars, and I will read it. This episode is brought to you by Cushy Dreams. Cushy Dreams offers a full lineup of premium smokable CBD. They are pretty much my go-to for all things CBD products, to be honest. You can get the sort of the CBD rich hemp flower, aka bud, in cans, and also pre-roll CBD joints. You can enjoy all the health benefits of CBD without getting high. There's under 0.3% THC in all of these products. It's cannabis that ships directly to you. It's legal in all 50 states. Join the men and women who are sick of vapes and gummies and want to smoke their CBD. Cushy Dreams, smoke your CBD. Again, these products, they look, feel, smell just like high quality marijuana and tastes like it too, but you won't get high at all from it. They take the artisan approach. Every run is in a small batch. It's 100% hand trimmed, never machine washed, never machine trimmed. They're constantly doing independent lab testing to show compliance and purity. All of this can be found on their website, cushydreams.com. And best of all, it's grown here in the USA. So go to cushydreams.com, KUSHY, and get you some high quality CBD bud. I really like this 5-pack right here of like the pre-roll joints. I'm not like someone that smokes like out of a thing. I just like having a couple pulls. My mind and body feel calm, and I can get on with the rest of my day. They've got several different indica sativa blends like energy, hustle, relax, dream, create, whatever you want to do with your day. They have your back. Go to cushydreams.com. Use the promo code CMP to get 20% off every order, not just your first order. Guys, I'm doing stand-up in a city near you. The Domestic Terrorist Tour continues. April 9th, I'll be at Stand Up New York with the Comedians of the Compound. Then I'm heading to Wilmington, Delaware, doing the House of Laughs, April 23rd and 24th. Then heading to Florida to the Boca Black Box on April 30th, the Lake Park Black Box in Palm Beach on May 1st, Side Splitters in Tampa May 2nd, Bricktown Comedy Club in Oklahoma City May 9th, May 14th and 15th, Comedians of the Compound is coming to the Big Laugh Comedy Club in Austin. Then May 18th, I'll be doing Zanies in Nashville. May 19th, Stand Up Live in Huntsville, Alabama. June 3rd, Hilarities in Cleveland. And June 4th and 5th, the Skyline Comedy Club in Appleton, Wisconsin. And if you live in a city that I haven't named, please hit me up, and I will do stand up in a city near you. So excited to have this guy on the podcast today. He's some would call him a living legend. Someone would just call him a really wonderful comedian and podcaster. He is the host of You Know What Dude podcast. Just a great comic, great funny guy all around. It's Bobby Kelly. I'm gonna unmute your mic. Here we go. Unmuted.
There you go. How you doing? There you go.
Bob.
What's happening?
I watched the Patrice documentary. It's really great.
Yeah, I was talking about that with somebody last night, and it's so funny because Patrice was on such a career trajectory up that if that thing if he lasted another year, that documentary would have been none of us. It would have been Eddie Murphy, Kevin Hart, Damon Wayans. It would have been just all famous people. Would have been his friends.
You mean so it would have just taken literally one more year for him to take himself to the level where he's regularly performing or hanging with?
He would have dumped all of us. We wouldn't have been his friends. He would have not talked to us, dumped us. He just 8 to 12 months, and that it would have been a whole different documentary.
You really thought he would have been the type to dump all you guys and just be like, because wasn't he he was afraid of the golden handcuffs. He was afraid of, to me, it looked like he had a fear of success, but I didn't know him. I've never met him. I feel like, I started like after him, after he was, I started in 2011. So I was just like nowhere near his circle. Did you get the feeling that he was afraid of success or afraid of failure, or is there even a difference between the two?
No, there's a fine line between, I just don't think he wanted to be a phony. You know, look, you can do certain things to make things easier. Let's put it that way. You know, you can act a certain way. We came up in a certain, Boston, and then with a group of people in New York, and then with the, the tough crowd and the Opie and Anthony. It was basically, you can't be phony. If you're 1 ounce of phony, you're going to get smashed and made fun of and talk. People who did bells and whistles and horse shit would get made fun of, and you'd get trashed, and we trashed each other out of our own bullshit to the point where people didn't want to kind of come near us. And still now to this day, they want nothing to do with us, but they call it, the table. Like, even if you make fun of somebody now, like a younger that table stuff's over, man. It's like, it doesn't make sense to me. It wasn't a table. It was the way we were with each other. And it was basically, try to keep each other honest as friends. It wasn't even, it bled into stand-up comedy, but it was more about when we hung out after and before the show, did we kind of keep each other righteous? And Patrice was one of the main guys. Now, don't think that Patrice wasn't a fucking piece of shit, did hacky shit. I'm not saying that we're above doing fucking stupid shit. I'm just saying that we called each other out on our bullshit a lot. And he was one of the main guys that did that.
I think even was it Donnell Rawlings who was like, I don't know if people are on here saying he's nice, but he was an asshole. So it was interesting to hear.
Yeah, he was an asshole, but he was also a really sweet guy. I've known Patrice since he started, and many a nights in the car after the show, driving back to the fucking Roxbury, fearing for my life to get him back to his house. We would have, this may sound corny, but he was a philosopher. He liked to break shit down and talk about it and philosophize about it. What do you think about? Why would that be? Oh, that makes sense. Well, but this, and that's why his comedy was so good.
Do you feel like that style?
He really think about it.
Do you feel like that style rubbed off on you at all, or you more just developing at the same time?
I think that the one thing I liked about our generation is that we were all funny, but we were all funny in very different ways. And I think we had pieces of each other in our acts, but Patrice was the way Billy was over here. Dane was over here. I was over there. Patrice Norton was over there. Voss is key. We're all funny, but very different style. We were our own little thing that we kind of created. Yeah. Now I think, there's a lot of the same funny.
Do you think do you see a lot of people out there and you go, oh, I feel like he's kind of copying me, or I feel like this guy's copying Patrice's style? Do you catch a lot of that?
No, I don't think so. I think you can't really do that. I think what it is that, people learned how to write jokes. We never talked about writing fucking jokes. We were funny. It was weird. We were just funny off stage to the point where it was like, oh yeah, we should just do this. Because we would off stage, we were funnier and more funny than we were on stage for a longer amount of time every single day. So it was just the stand-up was something we went and did. We were trying to take what we did out in front of the club on stage in the club. Where I think, and there's nothing wrong with this, don't get me wrong. I think now it's, the formulaic, I've sat at many comedy tables that were just fucking boring conversations. Like, oh God, none of you guys are funny. Like, you're not funny hanging out. Like, I could be sitting next to you on a bus and you just suck, like me and you, Patrice would be anywhere and he would have to be funny. I mean, in any situation, on a plane, at a fucking Starbucks, we would be fucking trying to make somebody laugh like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whereas,
it seemed like you guys are more focused kind of on just saying true things, saying what you think, saying and being confident about it, and kind of like taking everybody on the ride with you. This is how we see things, rather than like the type of comic that's like in a corner with a notebook and like not talking to anybody and just like, not the type of comic to type out your whole set.
I'm not trashing that. I'm just saying it's the math of it. It's you can be exposed and make a living and make money a lot faster than back when we were doing it, where you kind of, there was no internet, there was no fucking YouTube shit, there was no, Instagram, there was no putting your clips up. You had to get in at a comedy club, a major comedy club. You had to get in to the Comedy Cellar, the Boston Comedy Club, or Nick's Comedy Stop, which was a hard thing to do. There was no bringer shit. You had to go in and be funny. And if you weren't funny enough, you didn't get in. Like, you just didn't get the fuck in. That's the filter of the business. And it didn't matter how nice you were or how fun. Didn't matter what you looked like. Didn't matter any of that shit.
Friends you can get to bring.
No, none of it mattered. You had to get at the club. And now that is kind of gone, there's a lot more avenues to get out there, but I mean, it's fine. It is what it is. Comedy evolved into what it is now. And I mean, there's a lot of new funny people that I've found from that shit. But back when we were coming up, it was just, you had to be funny on the streets. I know that sounds just
almost
stupid.
Like the audition is in a conversation. Like, if you can't be funny in a conversation or outside the club, like probably be, they're probably going to suck on stage.
Well, look, I remember many a nights in the hallway of Boston Comedy Club, someone just sitting there and walking into the like five of us. And it's just like, shut up. They'd start talking about, hey man, I had my roof. I had to get shut up. Nobody cares about your roof. Stop. Say something fucking more interesting than your dumb roof. You fuck. Oh, I just wanted to, we know. And it was what regular people think, right? That's what I loved about it. Everybody, normal people who aren't comics, would be sitting there and a guy walks in on my roof. And in their head, they're going, shut the fuck up. But on the outside, they're going, oh, that's really, well, you should try my guy. You know what I mean? That's why comics are funny to me, because they'll say what they think in their head to the person at the time instead of never saying it. That's the difference between a comic to me, a funny person. I'll just say a funny person, or a regular person, a square. A square will take the hit. A square will just take it and bury it and never think about it. A comic has to acknowledge the uncomfortableness or the stupidness or just something that needs to be said, Yeah,
because what needs to be said is more important. Like, the desire for that to come out is more important than the idea or the obligation that you need to be polite. You need to say to the guy, like, oh wow, yeah, you should use my roof, guy. Right. It's just like you can't hold it in. You can't fight it.
I remember Nate Bargatze, who was very funny when he was new in the city. He would come on and do my podcast all the time. And then he, started to get a little heat or something. Something happened. And I remember he didn't call me, or I was trying to call. And I go, you motherfucker, you didn't call me. We're friends. And then he goes, Bobby, we're friendly. I go, what the fuck does that mean? He goes,
man.
He goes, you don't even know my daughter's name. And I literally hung up the phone.
You're like, that's the most boring part about you. Why would I remember that?
I didn't hang up. I didn't know her fucking name. He's absolutely right.
Oh no!
I don't even know.
How old was she? Was she new? Was she a new daughter?
Fucking 7. I don't know. I should have known her fucking name. He was absolutely right. At that moment, when he could have been like, oh, dude, I'm so sorry, and did some horse shit that regular people would do. He's like, you don't even know my daughter's name. And I was like, I just hung up the phone. I was like, thanks, touche, goodbye. Yeah.
Did you guys kind of make up a little after that? Or is that the last time you guys have spoken?
I love that.
Okay.
I love that. That made me, That's why he's funny, because it was like he called me out on my bullshit. I called him up with some horse shit, and immediately, as a funny person, he was like, dude, we're friendly. We're not best friends. You don't know my daughter's name. And I called him back 20 minutes later with his daughter's name. I had to fucking Google it. I had to find it. It was crazy. I forget it to this day. I don't know what fucking.
Just ask a bunch of like girl comics. Like we remember stuff like that. What is it, Bobby, about Boston? Because so many, you came from kind of like a class of so many incredible comics. Is there something about coming from Boston that made you all so damn funny, or
It was the competitiveness. You like I said, you couldn't get on stage. You got the guys that were before us were so fucking funny. Tony V, Steve Sweeney, Kevin Knox, Don Gavin. I mean, the list goes on. Chance Langton, Joe Yannetti. These guys were all fucking murderers. So the host of the show would be Kevin Knox, who is literally just a headliner, just a murderous headliner. So he goes up in front of 400 people. They're all there to see him. It's a Wednesday night. It's sold out. They're there. They paid to see the motherfucker. And he's going up from the get-go, killing. And then he brings you up to do 5 minutes. So you either sink or swim. You either find your way or you don't. And that's that. So, you know, Patrice was going on. Billy was going on. Dane's going on. Bob Marley's going on. Gary Gulman's going on. I'm going on. Everybody's bringing their 5 minutes to get the fuck up there, right? You do that for years. By the end of that 5 or 6 years, you're a killer. You're not fucking around. You're not going to a club with a bunch of other young comics and you're bringing your friends that are going to laugh at your horse shit because they want to be supportive. They want you to be supportive and let's support. You were going up in front of a blue collar crowd that will fucking boo you at any second. There was local Boston people, not tourists, fucking local blue collar people from the suburbs of Boston who were out for your head if you weren't up to par with Kevin Knox.
And this was Nick's?
That was Nick's. That was the Colloons, you know, Rich Seisler, Billy Martin, Joe Yannetti, Kevin Knox. You're going on. Those were the open mics. That was the open mic. So it wasn't this, you know, a bunch of open mics in front of people you dragged in off the fucking street where you don't know where you lie. It's going to take longer for you to get better that way. It's going to take longer. And you're not being taught. You don't have to kill. You don't have to. Oh, that's a good joke. Okay, great. Yeah, it's a good joke. And you got a bunch of good jokes. We were worried about not dying on stage. It was like, you know, we were worried about 500 people telling you to get the fuck off and then never be able to work that club again. So that was the fire we were under, you know, and that's why I think Billy and Patrice and me and Dane and Gary, we all kind of really had to have your shit together when you were, not to say that we didn't bomb. The first time I headlined, I would kill so much in the middle that the club owner was like, fine, like I'm going to headline you. And I remember I was like, yeah, finally, I'm the shit. And I remember he put me on and he put this guitar act in front of me and it was Christmas time. And he had like a shitload of Christmas songs and he murdered. And
with Christmas songs. Wow.
I ate my dick for 45 minutes.
Was he funny or was he just a guitar player?
Look, I have an affinity for guitar players. Like I like songs and shit. I like British humor. I like all kinds of weird shit. But yeah, he was funny, but he wasn't as funny as stand up, you know? I mean, it just the stars aligned to where it was a bunch of older people and he sang these songs that just clicked and murdered. And then I was up there talking about getting laid or some fucking fart joke.
Young man stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Boston almost sounds like New York in a way. Like it's so good. Everyone's so good and it's so competitive. Cause like I mean, I'm from Long Island, but I kind of started doing mics in the city just because that's where I would be after work. And I don't know. Do you almost feel like Boston is kind of like the best of both worlds? Like, well, it's not New York, but it's such a good comedy city that it got you to a place where you were so prepared and ready to just like kill as soon as you moved to New York.
Well, I say to anybody, I feel bad for New York comics because you're coming in here as a open micer. So the first eyes on you is as a newbie. And you know, it's like, oh shit. So that takes a while for that to wash off of that person, that club owner. So that fucking you know, we got to come here as almost headliners. You know, we came here as killers. We were the new people. We were brand new. Oh, who's this guy? New guy. But then we went up and said, fucking boom. I've been doing this for fucking 7 years in one of the hardest places to do it. So go fuck yourself. And then I was like, holy shit, he's ready. Like we came here ready. So that's why I always suggest you don't want to go to New York City as a open micer or as an MC. You want to go to New York City as a strong middle, like almost on the verge of headlining. You want to go there fucking killing it. You know, you don't want to, if you're from Long Island, stay the fuck out there.
I should have stayed out there.
Until you're the shit. Because then when you walk in, none of this shit's going to phase you. Going on at the Cellar. I remember my agent was like, you got a spot at the Cellar. I was like, oh, what's that? Oh, okay. It's common. Cool. What do I got to do? 5 minutes. Great. I didn't know what pressure that was. It didn't matter to me. I had to follow, I think, a Tell or somebody on a Saturday night. I don't know. I followed Patrice over at the Boston. I was following Dave Chappelle, Jim Brewer, Jay Moore, Patrice, Norton, Billy, Dane. I don't give a fuck who anybody is. You know, so I was in a better headspace to, you know, I got fucking people who aren't even middlers. Hey, can you put a word in for me at the Cellar? I'm like, I could, but it's going to fuck you.
Really? Meaning yeah, because you'll be honest.
You're not ready, and you're going to blow your opportunity because you're not ready to do that 5 minutes. So you want to be in more than you want to be good. You want fame more than you want to be funny. You want money more than you want, you know, the to be a real comic. You want what the other people have. You want to quit your day job before you're ready to fucking be a stand-up. I didn't call myself a stand-up comic until I didn't work. Until comedy was the only thing paying my bills. That's the only time when someone asked me, what do you do? I'd say, I'm a counselor. I work. I'm a student. I'm a waiter. Comedy. And I do comedy once in a while. That even 6 years in, I would do that until I moved to New York City and I was a paid stand-up comic. And that's all I fucking did. That's the only time I said I'm a stand-up comic.
Did you work at all when you were in, like, did you have any kind of a day job once you moved to New York, or were you just like, I'm moving to New York, this is all I'm doing?
No, I moved to New York with $1,000, and that's the last time I ever had a day job was in Boston. That was it.
Wow.
Good for you. But I mean, I lived in squalor for years. I mean, I lived in shit. I didn't, you know, but I loved it. It never, as long as I could do a show, as long as I could hang out downtown with the boys and fucking crack each other up until 4 a.m, right? And I could do a show somewhere. That's all I gave a fuck about. I didn't care about where I slept, what I slept on, what I ate. I didn't give a fuck about any of that shit. I just cared about doing shows and having a roof over my head, a key. That's all I needed is a key. Somewhere to go at night.
How did you know you were ready for the Cellar? Because in the Patrice documentary, there's a little and I like the little cartoons that go along with it, but it's like you and Patrice, and I think was it like Dane Cook and maybe somebody else, you know, you came out from Boston just to like go and hang out near the Cellar and like look at it, you know. How does it feel from that moment to now? When people think of the Cellar and the table, they think of you and they think of, you know, Voss and, you know, you and your friends basically.
I mean, look, that's going to be a day where that's going to be over too. You know what I mean? They're just going to be, we're going to walk in some fucking old chubby gray man, you know, and some young comic. Who's that guy? He used to be the funniest guy. Really? It looks like he fucking makes pies in New Hampshire, you know, which will probably be true. I mean, we came from Boston. We planned a trip. I remember the first time it was me, Bob Marley, Dane Cook, Billy, Patrice, and Al Del Bene, I think. And we all loaded into Dane's girlfriend's truck. And we drove to New York and we went to the Strip. We all went in as like this group and we just sat there.
How old were you all?
Fucking 26, maybe 25, somewhere around there. And then I remember we rolled over to the Boston because that was Barry Katz's, and Barry Katz was the, you know, the big guy on campus back then. He was the motherfucker, and that was his club. And then we went over to the Cellar. I remember being at the Cellar. They had that little TV, little monitor, like a black and white monitor up in the corner. It was kind of intimidating, but we were still so cocky because we were, you know, Boston comics. Like we were the shit back in Boston. We were the motherfuckers. So it was like, you know, yeah, this is all intimidating and weird and shit, but who gives a fuck? If someone walked up and said, you want to go on? Every one of us, yeah, let's go. And we all would have went on and fucking did well. You know, we weren't scared about that shit. Yeah, we went to a peep show. I remember that. We went to a peep show for the first time. All of us just sticking our heads in this little hole.
Where weird. On like 42nd Street or
yeah, it was Peep World.
Peep World. Yeah, I know exactly where that is.
Yeah, there was a comedy club there for a while. Yeah, we did the round room. It was like you could all stick your head in this little thing, and then we drove home that night. We got lost. I mean, we stopped at a diner. The diner, I remember, had like a telephone at every table. That's how long ago it was. It had like a telephone. You could pick it up and dial whoever the fuck you wanted to.
Wow, so you guys didn't even stay over. You were like, we're just going to drive back to Boston like that night. That must have been what, like 2 a.m. or later?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know, like the guys before us, that's what they did. Like Don Gavin and Tony V, they would do sets in Boston and then drive to New York to catch the last spot.
Holy shit.
And then drive
how
home.
Much of a drive is that? What is that, like 2.5?
3.5 hours.
3.5. Jesus.
Yeah. You just plow right through Connecticut, right into New York, go downtown, they do spots, and then they drive home.
Yeah, that's hustle for sure. Yeah. And it helps that you guys had each other. Like you had kind of like a team there. Cause I've gone and like, you know, I remember like friends or like, you know, acquaintances would be like, oh yeah, you got to come hang out at the Cellar. You got it. And first I'd be like, well, I'm not even close to being past there. Oh, you come hang out. And it's really intimidating. Like I would go and hang out by myself. You know, you eat food and then you say hi to people. And it's really, for a while, it was just like really scary to walk in the door because you're like, oh, you just assume like everyone's going to look at you like you don't belong, like you suck. And then, you know, over time, you're like, oh, wow, a couple people are saying hi. And, you know.
Oh, no, that's absolutely true. Anybody new walks in, we're like, who the fuck is this? Who is this asshole? Like, all those thoughts in your head were absolutely true.
Are true. Like anybody who walks in, I assume that the thoughts are like, who is this person who's trying to like ass kiss their way in? They don't belong. They suck or they're not funny. Like any variety of that.
No, the key is that's what, you know, Joe Rogan's. I asked him advice in Boston years ago. I think opening it for him at the Aku, some Chinese restaurant. And I was like, hey, because he was one of my, you know, he was one of the guys to me because he was dirty, but he was smart with it. He was hilariously funny, just nonstop, cool, confident. And I remember I finally got to work with him and I was like, can you give me advice? What do I got to do? You know, I was like, I was willing to take anything. And he's like, yeah, just get on stage. There's no advice. You just have to. And I was like, what? Like, I was expecting some sage shit. And he was like, there's no advice for just get on stage and do comedy. You'll evolve into and basically what I took from that is if you allow people to tell you what to do, you're doing what they would do instead of doing what you'll wind up eventually doing. And that's all it is get on stage as much as you can. And your everything in your body, all your instincts, your insecurities, yourself, it goes against that. please tell me I'm good. Please, all you need is one person to go, you got it, kid. And that will last 3 more years.
Yeah.
But most of the time you don't get that. Most of the time you don't get that. And the only thing that makes you better is just getting on stage and not quitting. So
do you see a lot of comics that are kind of doing what they think they should be doing or doing what other people tell them to do instead of like following their own voice or following their own path?
I don't really look at comics. I really don't. I know, like, it's funny too, because like we never really watched each other's acts. Like me, Norton, and all of us guys, we never really talked comedy. Like I know comics sit around and talk bits,
pitch
and
jokes.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Nah, like I said, we were a different breed. We'd rather just go up and be funny at the table, and something would come out of that, maybe a conversation, but we wouldn't disguise it or try to hide a bit in a conversation. If you did, we'd sniff it out. We were like, you doing bits, you piece of shit?
Yeah. Yeah.
Bits out on the all us. No. So I don't really watch comics. I don't,
you're doing your thing. You're working. You're friends with your friends. You're not like, it's kind of better in a way to not just be like constantly keeping tabs on everyone, because then you're comparing.
Holy shit! What happened?
Oh, are we good?
Yeah, you're good. You cut out there.
Oh, okay. I think I kicked the table. Did you ever have a moment where it kind of sunk in and you were like, oh shit, I'm past at the cellar. Like this is the place. Or were you always like cool and confident?
No, later, I really appreciated it. I didn't understand what it was. When I just, it was a club to me. But then later when I found out, when I look back and was like, holy shit, I was on stage. Even I was hosting shows with the most brilliant fucking comics on the planet. And I didn't even know it. Oh my God. Hello. All right. Well, I guess I'm going to take over the show. I think your internet died, and Chrissie will be right back.
We're back
after these commercial messages. Oh, she's back. Welcome back. What the fuck? What are you doing this in a U-Haul truck? Where are you?
I don't know. I'm in. I have a fucking internet cord that pops out. I don't know, and it's brand new, so I don't know what the fuck's going on. But thanks for keeping it going. Oh Christ! Yeah.
You look great.
Thanks. Very inspired by your podcast, and your lighting is really on point. So I was like, I need some blue lights. But the fucking shit pops out of me. So it doesn't matter how good I look. Do you talk?
It's so funny to me that through this whole last year that comedians haven't like gotten
good equipment. Yeah.
Like even your computer, I'm down. Your camera's up. So you're looking at me. That's the camera. And then look at me. Now look at me.
And then then you're on my laptop.
But I'm look at me right now. I'm looking right at you on my screen. I'm right at the camera.
The way that you have
and the only thing you have to do is bring your laptop, put it on a box closer to your camera. That's literally all you have to do to make the illusion that you're looking at the camera. But everybody I know will fucking do all the lighting and all this and that. And oh my God. And then they still look like blind people. Hey, so
it's fucking awful. Yeah. I have to look at this robotic black eye instead of your just wonderful face.
Bring your computer up.
I need a box or something. I bought a fucking metal, like a laptop holder. It's very chic, but clearly it's not tall enough. I hate this. I hate this shit. You mentioned that Rogan is part of this like new class, right, of people coming up. And this might have been on an episode you did with Kumia, just like, you're talking about like, wow, like just how much money he's making, fans of him, you like him, wish him the best. But do you ever get this feeling like maybe not necessarily him, but this new class of comics or podcasters coming up? Do you ever feel like, man, they didn't really put in their dues, or man, they
no.
be as
Oh
funny.
no, Rogan didn't put in his dues. What are you, crazy?
Not him. I don't mean him. I just
no.
like,
Listen, if you look back to where it just so happens that this next crew of people came in at a perfect time with social media and podcasting, to where when we were, look at Opie and Ant, tough crowd. We were the motherfuckers for that time. Like, we were the motherfuckers. And then podcasting wasn't around then, and then Opie and Anthony, that we were touring, doing 12,000 seats with Opie and Anthony, it was like rock star shit. Okay.
What was the biggest show you did?
It was I've done a lot of big shows, but it was like 15,000 people we did, but we did a shitload of them. So those guys were all doing their thing, trying to hustle on the road and blah, blah, blah. And then it just so happens that, Joe Rogan really brought his group of guys, and Billy and all them kind of came up with this podcasting thing at the right time. And, they're the motherfuckers now. There's always going to be a group of people that are kind of doing it. I'm sure they were looking at us back then going, fuck, I wish I could be on that Opie and Anthony tour, Yeah, you'd love to be like in that little thing, but there's a certain guys that were and are, and it's their time, and your time will be there, and your time will come again with something else. So no, I actually, I know most of those guys, and I'm very, very happy for them. And I'm, if anybody could have been in charge or been at the top, you want a guy like Rogan, because he's a very common sense dude. He's not woke. He's not too far right. He has a gun. He believes in, abortion. He fucking, he's kind of, really good spokesperson for comedy, and the people he has around him, funny motherfuckers. So, I'm happy that is the group of guys that are kicking ass right now. Look, if podcasting was back with Tough Crowd and Opie and Anthony, and the internet is what it was, holy shit, man, would it be great? Back then, we probably would have become millionaires. All of us be riding around in fucking Teslas, and, stupid Voss would have more than an acre in Jersey.
100 fedoras. Yeah.
Yeah, it would. But that's just the way it is. We had our time. We did our thing. We made a lot of money. And then this next group came in. I'm sure there'll be another group after that. No, I'm good for that. I love that.
Yeah.
I love it.
And you've been doing, I noticed the last year did seem kind of like a mad scramble for a lot of comics, just figuring out podcasting, getting a set together, probably, yeah, myself included. And you have had the studio at Riotcast for a while. When I think of first few podcasts, like yours is right up there. Were you kind of having this moment of like, man, I'm happy I got my studio together and I don't have to like rush to figure out how to do a podcast, like, basically last year?
Yeah, I'm glad I did it, but we just redid the whole studio at Riot, the Laugh Button studio, because Laugh Button and the Syndicate and 800-Pound Gorilla bought Riotcast, bought my partner out, so that's who I'm partnered with now. So we redid the whole studio. With, just $4,000 cameras, a TriCaster, everything's brand new in the studio. And as soon as we got it, COVID shut it down. We haven't been in the studio in a year. So what I had to do is transform my smoking shed that I film live from the shed. I filmed a seasonal show out of here with interview show, like I did one with Kumir, and I had to transform this into an actual workspace. So I just went on the internet, though. It's so funny because everything you need to, like, I'm the king of Zoom. I've been the motherfucker since day one. I've had, bokeh. I've had lights. I've had crystal clear CNN fucking.
Yeah.
So, in sound.
This is a beautiful camera you have. Like,
well, everybody could get it. It's not even that expensive. It's just, you just have to go on the internet and, get somebody that knows what they're doing. I found this guy, Seth, at on YouTube, and he was just fucking basically they lay it out for you how to do shit. And I did that real quick. Jumped on with Mike Calta to do 5 days a week with my YKWd, and I just turned that into something. You know, my Patreon. I mean, I give too much away. I give there's like fucking tons of shit up there. Most people give like a half an hour or an extra show a week. I'm giving away shows, more than one show, and live everything. And we do a jerk off party on Saturday night.
Really?
Yeah, we have all the fans come into a Zoom and we just hang out with the fans.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So I should probably cut it down.
Are the fans like, do they talk much? Because I did one of these. I think it was like with Norton and his Patreon or his fan group. Do you find like with your fans, they're like talking a lot? Like maybe they're trying to be funny, or are they nervous, or they're more just like they're quiet and they want to be listening? They're just happy to be there.
No, we call our fans ladybugs.
Why?
Well, what was his name? What was that senator? The gay senator there. He had a cluster of genital warts near his asshole.
Oh my God, really?
And he was like, oh, don't worry, those are my ladybugs.
Oh God, ew. What's
he called them his ladybugs. So we call our fan our ladybugs. And they're actually fucking great. They're funny, but respect, like they're really cool. They know the line. They're not mean enough. They're funny and they're interesting. And we got a really solid fan base in there. And it's kind of fun to hang out. We do theme nights. It's kind of fucking just silly shit. We have people dress up. We have one guy that dress up. Mike has a fucking skin tag on his inner leg that he calls him Derek. And we have a guy that dresses up as Derek, the skin tag.
It's just all in beige, all in ill, like it's like a swim cap.
Oh, it's like an earlobe on his inner thigh.
Oh. Talking about being goofy. Yeah, I think I forget where you said it, but I really remembered it. You said like cool is the opposite of funny, or like funny is the opposite of cool.
No, I heard it from Chris Rock, but Colin Quinn yelled at me because he said it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's cool is the enemy of funny. And I believe that. Any comic that is cool, like, you know what I mean, just stinks. You know, you just stink. You know, if you walk in and you're sucking in your cheeks and you put too much chapstick on and you're just a fucking dildo, you're just cool. As soon as a comic gets cool is usually when they're just unfunny, you know, because you can't take yourself too serious.
And all being cool is just an extra layer of like almost like you're approaching everybody at arm's length away. Like it's a little bit of distance.
I don't know. I think it's when you
think you're better than everyone.
Worried about your hair more than you're worried about your fucking, what's coming out of your mouth, Yeah. I don't know. Whatever. I believe that. I do believe that. I believe I like funny people.
Yeah. I remember I was like,
as you fix your hair. No.
I'm thinking, do I care too much about my hair? God damn. I should just shave it. I should just shave it like you.
Don't.
Right. You were like, I was the shaved head guy, and then Rogan shaved his head.
Oh, everybody's shaving their heads now. I'm so mad. I was mad when Howie Mandel did it. I was mad.
Oh, right. That's right. And then he's also like a mega germaphobe. So that, I don't know, I feel like that makes him a little kind of icky and unapproachable.
A mega star. Don't forget that.
I just hate him because he's successful. Ugh, I resent him. What do you think is going to happen with the comic strip now? You mentioned that was one of your earliest spots, and now that Richie Tinkin passed away, do you think they'll make it? Do you think? I mean, I've been seeing a couple clubs kind of, it's kind of falling out here and there.
I don't know. I never. It's funny. When I came to New York, that club would never work me. There's a lot of clubs that just fucked with me.
In what way?
Just, horse shit. You know what I mean? Just that little snobby club shit. And the Comedy Cellar, SD and Manny saw my potential and liked my comedy. Like I always say, what type of girl do you like? When I was single, what type of girl do you like? I like a girl who likes me.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
it doesn't
simple.
matter. It's very simple. If she likes me, I could like her. You know what I mean? I mean, I don't know what the fuck, red, brown. I mean, all, blonde. Who gives a shit? Big tits, little tits. It doesn't matter. Is she into me? Cool. Then I'll be into her and we'll see what happens. If I like her and she likes me, it's good. The same thing with the club. The Cellar was just into me. And then when they didn't work me, I didn't say fuck you and fuck that club. And when I make it, blah, 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 all that shit. I just was like, all right, fuck it. I don't need you. It was a pain in the ass to get up there anyways from the Cellar. And I never worked it. And even when later on, when I could work whatever club I wanted, I just never did. I never left the Cellar. It was Friday night. I could do 7 shows at the Cellar.
Jesus.
Why am I going to take a cab up to do some fucking and they're going to be late and they don't give a fuck, So I just never worked this. I don't know what's going to happen with that club. I know here's the thing though. And even with this comedy shit, everything comes to a goddamn end. So you got to appreciate where you're at right now. When I moved to New York, the Cellar was garbage.
Really?
Nobody went to the Cellar. It was empty all week long. And the Strip was the place. I mean, packed. It was the champagne club of New York City. Caroline's, the Strip. Cellar wasn't shit. And then like it always like even everything gets its time, and the Cellar, and it slowly just switched to where the Cellar started caring about the shows. They cared about the comics who they passed. There is you can't just bring people to this place. You have to go in on a Saturday like they've done for 35 years and have Esty look at you. And she gives you the thumbs up or the thumbs down, or, and then Noam, they have a meeting on Monday and they talk and they find out where you could go. And then you have to slowly be eased in and how you do. The waitresses give their review on you. And yeah, she did good or she did bad. And that's the way it should be. It should be based on how funny you are, not who you are or, how many people you bring into the fucking club. So I don't know. I don't know what the fuck's going to happen to that club. I just know the Cellar is back, and that's the club I work. I hope it stays open. I hope somebody steps up and fucking, because look at what they did with New York Comedy Club.
Yeah, well, they were doing shows on the roof for a while.
Yeah, but that guy took a club that nobody wanted to work because of the last owner and fucking made it into a club that everybody wants to work. Look what the guy did at the Comedy Store. When I lived in LA, the Comedy Store was a fucking wasteland.
Wow.
I mean, it was a shithole. I mean, you didn't go there. It was it was the fucking worst. You went there and you felt sad,
Where were the good clubs?
The Laugh Factory was popping the fuck off. I mean, crazy at the Laugh Factory. The Improv. I mean, those were the 2 clubs that it was just solid. And then the Comedy Store, nobody went. It was the degenerates. You went there, everybody's wearing black, But that guy, what's his name? Adam, I think it's Adam, went in and was like, well, fuck that. We're just going to bring in good comics. And they brought in Rogan. They brought him back. They started bringing in great comics and the shows were fucking crazy. And all of a sudden it's Burr and Bert and fucking Rogan and all these crazy comics, Steve Byrne on one show. It's like, oh, this is kind of what the Cellar did. And then it was packed all the time. I mean, every room was being used. I would go there and the big room was never used.
Wow. Yeah. They've got what, 3, 4 rooms?
They got, I think, 3 rooms there.
So by what year do you think it became like the store that we know it is today? Like when did it really hit?
Oh, that was a few years ago, man. Back, that kid really I remember I met him up in, where the fuck was I? Montreal. And he was like, yeah, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I was like, good for you, dude. And he did it. He brought that place back to what it was back in the day.
Oh, okay. So it was great back in the day, and then it kind of hit a slump.
Oh yeah,
because I was
oh, yeah.
I was there in last March, and it was there's nothing like it. It's so amazing. Like the energy is insane. There's like amazing shows going on in every room.
Yeah. No, it's yeah, back in the I think in the 80s, and Pryor and Williams, and I mean everybody, Roseanne, that was the club. It was killer. The main room was always sold out, and they shot all kinds of specials there. It was the shit, and then it just fell off. So who knows? Maybe the strip will get a new person, new life, and new booker, and make a run at it again.
Yeah, it did sort of have a crusty vibe. Like I remember I tried out for a late night, and yeah, it must have been Richie who was like past me. It's like, oh, like something, like, yeah, you're funny for a girl, like you can come do late night. And kind of like a couple times I would go be like, yeah, do I really want to at the end of the night like go up there at like midnight? I don't know. And you do it because you're like, you have to, you're newer. But then I kind of just stopped, and I was like, oh, I'd rather like do spots at the Stand or New York, or yeah,
you kind of find your own club. That's why everybody's like, I want to get at the Cellar. It's like, find your club. Some people found Dangerfields was their club, and they got good there. They got really good, and then they went somewhere else. Some people's clubs were Caroline's, or Gotham. I remember Gotham. Gotham would never use me. Gotham was when they were at the other place, they were just like, nope, we don't use comics like you. Nope.
Did you kind of ask like, what does that mean? What do you mean like you, or you just got over it?
I immediately got over it. I've never had a problem with somebody because I know I'm funny. It wasn't like I wasn't your cup of tea. I don't give a shit. That is not going to affect my shit at all. Yeah. I'll go to the Cellar. I don't give a fuck. I love the Cellar. Why the fuck? All right. Why would I want to come somewhere? I mean, of course, later on the Mazzillis, I love those guys now. I work at that club. I work there once a year, and those guys are the fucking best. I love those two guys. They're just great comedy clubs. But so I'm so glad that I wasn't that guy. I go fuck yourself. I remember Mazzilli was like, hey man, I just went up and killed. And then Mazzilli was like, all right, send me a tape. And I walked away. Okay, cool. And the girl I was with, some agent, she goes, you're going to send him a tape? I go, absolutely not. No. Really? And I just killed. Well, you just saw it live. What do you want to go review it? I go, no, absolutely not. She goes, are you mad? I go, no, I'm just going down to the fucking Cellar. I don't give a shit. I'll work there someday. I don't care. And then of course someday came, and they were like, I probably became a better comic to where they were like, okay, you're better now. Or you figured your shit out. You're not just some dirty fucking douchebag fucking a stool. I'm sure they had some validity to what they were saying,
But you figured you should have been like you killed in your set. You should have been passed off that to kind of, did you feel like asking you for a tape was like a little bit of an insult, or you shouldn't have had to?
It's just, no, not an insult, unnecessary.
Yeah.
For me, because you just saw it, if you liked it, you'd come out and go, dude, Esty saw me perform. She said, come back tomorrow. You just saw me perform, and you said, send me a tape. I understand what that means. I don't need to waste a VHS tape. Because you're being nice. He was just being nice. His real thought was, look, man, not right now.
That's actually that's ultimately really good advice, to just like find your one or two clubs, or even your one club, because I know like comics, some of them are just obsessed. Like, I got to get past at every club. I have to be working every single club. And I just feel like that's kind of a lot, because it's a lot to just focus on, all right, the personalities that run this club or that club, or what kind of comics do they like. It just seems simpler to just focus on one or two.
Yeah, that's all you need, one or two. How many, what do you want to do? Fucking 9 spots a night? Do 1 or 2 spots. Make sure you use your spots correctly, and then you're good to go.
Did you ever feel at the Cellar, like, I've heard other comics that are past there, they have this feeling or this pressure, like, oh, I can never not kill. I don't feel like I can try new stuff out. Somebody's always watching. I always have to crush.
No, here's the thing. You're getting paid to do a job. So it's not your fucking lab time, but You have to learn to do. I work out shit all the time on weekends, but I'll open with some fucking great joke. I'll crush it, and then I'll slip in my new jokes in the middle, and then I'll close on some fucking insane shit. And you know, by the time the night's over, the stuff that was new is up to par with the older stuff, or kind of can live in there, or I find out it stinks and I just stop doing it and I rework it that week, and there you go. But no, you can work on new stuff. You can't go up and do a new fucking 15 because you think you're a fucking stupid genius and you bomb, and then you blame the club for having high expectations. Oh, you mean the number one club in the city that fucking people are paying a premium to go see comedy, and you want to work out your horse shit? You know, it's like, work it out, but figure out how to do it. That's it. That's in their head. That's an excuse. That's an excuse, I think.
Yeah. Because you hear about people like, oh, I was passed and then I was unpassed, and she doesn't like me. I've seen a lot of people get really tripped out just about the Cellar in particular.
No, it's not that. Look at the fact is that you have a whole shitload of very good comedians that work that club. And then you have a lot of new people that work that club. And when people who have been there, there's just a pecking order. I'm sorry, that's just the way fucking life is. And you might not get the spots you were getting a month ago because 7 of those comics are back in town and they're not on the road.
Yeah.
And that's it. And you don't like your fucking late night spot. I always get go fuck yourself. I still close every goddamn show at the Cellar. I still have to go up after every one of these fucking assholes who are, making way more money than me. I got to go up and close the show because they want a prime spot, And me, Godfrey, Steve, Pete Corielli. I mean, the list goes on. Tom Pop. We hosted at the Cellar, which was 9 o'clock to 3 a.m. Okay, so
yeah, it's an entire work day. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm a stand-up, and that's my fucking job. So I always get the late spot. Yeah, because that's where you're at. Use it as your. I remember Godfrey would be like, "Fuck it, I don't give a shit. That's great. I'm closing the show at 2 a.m. Great, good. Watch this. I'm gonna fucking kill after everybody that late at night. It makes you stronger. It makes you a better comic. It makes you, being able to go up after anybody, anywhere, anytime, and do your shit. So that's not a bad thing. That's some vanity shit. If you need a certain time in a certain type of crowd in a certain moment to be funny, all right, go fuck yourself.
So you're not somebody who would, you'll hear comics like blame the crowd. Oh, this crowd sucks. That crowd sucks. Like I kind of always feel like, well, even if it's quote the worst crowd, it's my job to make them like me for this amount of time. Like I would never blame the crowd for if I don't do well.
No, I mean, look, sometimes it's, sometimes it's, it is your way. It's your job to figure it out and get them to laugh. The bombing and killing, there's variations between that. Like I had a good set. It was good. They were good. You know what I mean? It seems to me though that every fucking buddy does good now. How were they? Great. Oh, they were great. What? I listened. You sucked. You weren't. That was terrible. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I think it is like what Seinfeld said that years ago. It's never the crowd's fault, and everybody fucking repeated that horse shit like it was gospel. I think sometimes, when you get a drunk asshole yelling shit out when somebody did something before you that's fucking crazy, should you try to overcome it? Yes. Should you try to get laughs? Fuck yeah. But you should always try to, whatever situation, fucking kill it and get it laughs, and that's your job, And if you don't, who gives a fuck,
Are you somebody who like records and listens to sets, or you just remember what hits and what doesn't?
I record every set on my phone. Since I was able to do that, I record every set. I was always recorded shit. But I don't listen to every one of them, but I have them And then when I go, like this week, when I go to the gig, like Thursday night, I'll go back through and be like, I said this. I did a new joke last week, you know, because you're trying to dust off all your shit now from a year and find out where you're at. So, and I had a new joke that I tried and it worked. So I got to go back and listen to that. I don't listen to the whole thing, you know, but I do listen to it. Yeah. I think you should record every show. You should write everything down you think is funny and record every show. Cause you never know when that little thing is going to be said or that thought's going to really turn into some shit.
Like, don't throw away like half of a good thought or like a little nugget, even though it might not make sense at the time.
For why? Yeah. For why you should keep it, have it, you know, you never know. You might never look at it again, but you never know, you know, I forget so much shit. Cause oh, that was funny. Ah, shit. And then that later that night, I'm like, what was it?
What
the fuck was it? And you literally the greatest time in the world to be a comedian. You have a device that fucking you can just say blah 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 blah, and it keeps it.
Yeah, until your phone gets so damn full. And even
it's not like the 90s where we're walking around with journals.
Oh.
You know?
Although I do still definitely have like a little tiny comedy journal. But yeah, I'm doing notes in my phone. Were you doing mostly Zoom shows over the last year? Like, were you feeling afraid of like doing, you know, in-person shows or a mix of both?
I would not do Zoom shows. I didn't do any. I just couldn't. I did one pay-per-view thing that was fucking sucky. You know, the crowd, it was in front of a crowd, but they were so far away. They didn't mic the crowd. So the people watching the show was it looked like me just doing a show in front of it was just stupid. I couldn't do it. I don't hate anybody who did. I get it. And some people, they probably did better in a Zoom show they would in front of a real audience. Just because they hear the laughter in their heads. No, I can't do it. I haven't even performed at the Cellar on that weird stage they have because I just didn't want to take a hot one behind plexiglass.
Yeah, I heard they had a weird setup with a lot of plexiglass and almost like I don't know. I feel like wouldn't you feel like you're a buffet at that point? Like,
I don't know who put that in his head, but I think it's stupid and unnecessary. No other club is doing that. If they're open, they're open. If you're not, you're not. I don't think the government is giving you more people or more credit because you put up a hockey rink in your club, you know. But I could be wrong. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm hoping it won't matter as much like at April 2nd or afterwards. Yeah, I don't know. I hope things get a little bit less weird soon, but I didn't think the clubs would open as early as they did. So it's good to see that. Bobby, what do you have coming up? What shows, where can people see you? Where can people find you, follow you other than checking out your podcast?
You can, robertkellylive.com, go to my shit, check out my stuff, blah, blah, blah. If you want to come, go. If you don't, fuck off. You know, I'm all over the place. I'm working the next 2 months. I'm finally getting gigs back. So I'm very excited. The shows have been great. Utah was great. The Mohegan Sun was great. The crowds are fucking awesome right now. They're very appreciative of comedy. Yes, the drunk twat lady who won't shut the fuck up is still at every show. And doesn't understand why she can't get on her phone 90 times. And they all lie. Who are you talking to? My kid. Yeah, you just scumbags that are going to hell for fucking their shitty personalities and crappy dispositions. But the crowd's been great. Yeah, go there. Go to robertkellylive.com. My Patreon. That's where I put a lot of my shit up right now. That's how I'm making money. And then that's it, man. I got nothing else. I'm fucking in this shed all day long.
Well, you look good.
I gotta get a goddamn toilet in here. I want to take a shit right in here.
I imagine behind you there's just stacks of like dried out dehydrated food or like the MREs. What are they called? Like the I don't know, break in case of emergency food.
No, I have a house right there. Like I can open that door and go in my home. I bought this shed off of Amish Mike because we needed storage. So the front half of it is all our shit, our summer shit, winter shit, whatever. And then there's a wall. And then I built this so I could have a room to smoke cigars in.
It's your man cave.
I wanted I wanted a place I could come out in the winter or summer and smoke a bat with a friend of mine and talk shit about other comedians over a stick. So
this is not even attached. Like this was a separate room or like a separate shed that's not even attached to your house.
Yeah, they dropped this off. A truck came and dropped this off. Amish Mike's. I went there and I picked out everything I wanted. And then 3 months later, they came out and dropped this sucker off on my land. And now this is my studio.
Boom. Instant man cave / studio. I love it. Yeah. Bobby, thank you so much for coming on. Good chatting with you. Good to see you in the documentary there. And everybody check him out. Check out You Know What Dude podcast. Sign up for his Patreon. All that good stuff. Thank you so much for coming on.
All right. Thank you. Bring your fucking computer up next time. So
I'm gonna go get a box right now. Thanks.
Okay. See you later.
Bye. Wee.